At long last, I am able to say a few words of my own.
Hey everybody, how you doing? It's Monty Mott here once again. This is the Shareholders podcast. It's on the Mighty Sharp Network. And really, man, I got a great guest here today, man. I'll tell you what, I just want to say this very quickly. For somebody who's thinking about doing something, doing anything, God, I'm just telling you, go for it. Branch out and try to do it, because you will find that doors will be open for you and you will meet people and have experiences that you never thought you would even think possible. And my guest here today, you would have told me I had an Olympic athlete on, and a person who is a two-time Olympian, I should say that, I'd have been like, am I doing sportscasting? Am I on ESPN? But I'm not. It's just funny how things kind of work out. But I am very honored to have Mr. Khadevis Robinson on the line today. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on. You got a long list of accomplishments that we could talk about. I mean, you are an Olympian, Olympic athlete, middle distance runner. That I was just looking at your bio, it was unbelievable. Before we even get into a lot of the things we talk about on this podcast, I have to ask. I mean, what is that experience like? I mean, I don't get to talk to many Olympic athletes, so what was that like to actually? I mean, it's so much work, I'm sure, but to actually get that accomplishment of being able to go and represent your country in the Olympics?
Well, I think you have to liken it to a goal that you may have had or put in your mind, and you knew you could do it. Like deep down in your heart and your soul, you felt like you could do it, but you wasn't certain at the same time because the goal was so tough, right? So sometimes there's goals and challenges we have in life that are so tough, we're like, man, it's going to be rough. So you kind of don't know, but in your soul and in your heart and in your mind, you know you can do it. You're like, I know I can do that, but you're not certain. So, and then once you accomplish that goal, it's a feeling you get that you can't get nowhere else. And so, for the most part, that's what it was. It was, because I missed making it the first time. So, and I was actually ranked, number one in the U.S. and top 15 in the world. So I thought I was going to make it. I didn't make it. That letdown and that so-called failure was tough. So to come back and be able to make it the first time I made it, it was a relief. And the Olympics itself, I tell everyone this. I really believe this. Every person, if you have the opportunity, should go to the Olympics. When I say opportunity, I don't mean, can you just go? I mean, save the money up and take the trip. And the reason I say that is because it's like no other thing on the face of the earth. When you talk about the Super Bowl, it's really just the U.S. You talk about the NBA championships, it's just the U.S. But when you start talking about the Olympics, you're talking about every country on every continent in the entire world, and they're all there for more than one sport. Remember, it's not just basketball. It's not just baseball. It's not just track and run. It's not just fencing. It's not just swimming. It's like all these different amazing sports, and you literally have the absolute best in each country, in every country in the entire world, all at the same place at the same time at their peak shape. And here's the kicker. They're all there for a positive, motivating reason. So the people, when you see them, they're happy. They're there because they want to be there. They would not one of those individuals would prefer to be anywhere else in the world at that moment. So it's a special energy you get when you're there. And here's the thing, even if you're a fan, even if you're just somebody to come to watch, you feel that energy. You don't have to be a participant, an actual athlete, to feel that, because the athletes, to be quite honest with you, we're so focused that, we're happy to be there and all those types of things, but there's still a level of restraint that we have to have because we have to perform. So it's an amazing feeling, and like I said, I really do believe if you have an opportunity to save the money and take the trip and make it, it'll be well worth it.
That's an amazing statement, and I do want to say, of course, just society, how we are, people kind of focus on, you see Usain Bolt like win a race, and you're just like, man, Usain Bolt, that dude is crazy. But understand, all 10 of them people in that race, those are the best of the best, and they had to be the best in their country. Imagine being the best in a country of something, of whatever it is, to even get to that point. And I like how you said that, how everybody's glad to be there, because it is. It's the culmination of a lot of life's work and things like that. So you took that experience, though, and sometimes, you know, especially with athletics, because you just have a kind of a window of how long you can do it. Sometimes people in athletics, they kind of, after the moment or after their sport, and when they have to retire, they kind of get lost. But you have really parlayed that into so many other things. You were a coach, you're an author, you're a speaker, you know, a businessman, and so many endeavors that you have going on. So I want to ask you first, very quickly, what was that transition like to where, okay, you know, my running career, me physically being on the track, doing it, is over. What do I do next? And I ask you that because there's a lot of people who think they might be wanting to do something and maybe it doesn't go the way they want, or feel like this is not what I want to do right now. I want to branch out into something else. How do I transition into another part of my life or my career?
All right, so I want you to remember that question you just asked me, because I want to answer something before that real quick, and then remember that question. I want to answer that question. But you said something about how individuals are the best, and you noted that, like, someone who's in the 100-meter race or whatever the race it is may get 7th place or 6th place or 5th place or whatever place it may be. You're like, people are saying, well, Usain Bolt's so awesome, and you're like, well, no, all of those guys are awesome. And the example I like to give individuals is, think about this. Let's say you live in Las Vegas. I'm going to use that as an example, right? Mm-hmm. If you are, just think about this. If you are the best lawyer in the city of Las Vegas, if you're the best doctor in the city of Las Vegas, I mean, and you can take any city. You can take Columbus, Ohio, where I'm at. You can take Dallas. You can take Houston. You can take Cincinnati. You can take L.A. You can take New York. If you're the best in that city, then just think about how good you would have to be the best in those cities. And whatever your perspective, you're the best teacher in the whole city. If you're in a small city, it's still a big accomplishment, but you get my point. If you're the best in that city, you're pretty darn good. Now take this, let's make it a step further. Let's say you're the best in the state. I don't care what state it is. If you're the best lawyer in the whole state, that means you're better than all the people in the state. That means you're like, if you're the best doctor in that state, that means you're like ridiculously good. Like you're off the charts, man. If you're the best teacher, if you're the best, I don't care what it is. You're the best entrepreneur. If you're the best dancer, if you're the best cook, you're just going to be off on a whole nother level. Now let's expand that. Let's say you're the best in that region. Let's say you're the best on the East Coast, or the best on the West Coast, or the best in the South, or the best in the Northeast, or whatever. That means you're like, you know, you're the best in the Midwest. That means you're like, for Christ's sake, you're like, man, what is this guy doing? Because if you're the best in the South, I mean, you got to be better than the best in Texas. You got to be the best in Louisiana. You got to be best in Florida. You got to be best in all these places. You're the best in the West. You got to be best in Nevada. You got to be best in California. You got to be best in Arizona. You know, you get my point. So you would have to be. So now you got to expand that a little bit further. Let's say you're the best in your whole country. I mean, can you imagine who the best doctor, or who the best plastic surgeon, or who the best teacher, or who the best lawyer, or who the best ESPN analyst, best whatever, in the whole country? How good? What are they doing? How much studying are they doing? How many hours of work are they putting into? So now you take it an even further level. You take not only the best in the country, let's take it to the continent. The whole North America, the best in North America, you're talking about Mexico, you're talking about U.S., you're talking about Canada, the whole South America, you got all the South American countries, Brazil and all these places. You take Australia, you take Africa, you take Asia, you take Europe. If you're the best in the continent, you're like you're on such a level that it's like it's unfathomable to be the best on the continent, you know? Right. And then just go to the world. You're one of the best in the world? So, yeah, you're right. When those guys who are getting, or those girls who are getting 15th or 9th or 6th or 4th, man, they are ridiculously good. They are like, you know, that's like having a spelling bee with all the different languages and inviting people to come, and you're one of the best in the world on spelling. What kind of words would they have to be spelling? You hear what I'm saying? You know, what kind of meals would the chefs be cooking? You got the best chefs in the world. What is the doctors? What if they cured? They would have had to, you know, Chris Rock was joking about how good someone would have to be to to live in his neighborhood and all that. He's like,
oh yeah, I remember that.
So yeah, I just wanted to point that out, that the individuals you see in those competitions or races or whatever the fact may be in that sport, they're ridiculously good. Now, to go back to your other question, you said the transition.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's a tough one, and it's tough for a lot of athletes, but also that transition is what a lot of people are going through right now in life. It's called pivoting. Yeah. We have to pivot. Right now, some of us are being forced to pivot. And, if you don't get nothing else from this, I don't even know who's going to hear this, but if you don't get nothing else from this, this is what you need to hear. There was a quote that said, sometimes our hard-headed failures in life is God's way of saying we can do better. In other words, it's saying that sometimes we're forced, and that's what's going on now. Sometimes we are forced to not continue to do what we've been doing. We are forced to leave this job. We are forced to break up in this relationship. We are forced to do a little bit better with our health. And then when we do that, we have to pivot and turn. So that's what happens to a lot of athletes. Some of them, luckily for me, I retired after the Olympic Games in 2012. I did it on my own terms. But a lot of individuals, they're not retiring when they want to. They get injured or they're not performing at a high level, so they have to, they have to transition. For me, I started setting things in place beforehand because I saw it. One of my favorite games to play here, but I tell you, is chess. I play chess. I probably play it too much, to be quite honest. And so I'm always planning on what's coming next, right? And so for me, I started recognizing that, I can't run forever. So I went back and got my master's degree earlier in my career, and I started volunteering. I started doing things that would help me transition. But if you're a person that hasn't done those things, you can always build it. Then sometimes in life, we must jump and grow our wings on the way down. We must, if you know something in your heart that you want to do, that you want to go after, and don't do it, I'm a realist now. Don't do it foolishness. Like, don't just be like, okay, like for instance, I'm not just going to go and start trying to, do something that I have no experience in, no passion, don't have anything about. But if it's something you got some passion about, somebody that's in that field, that department or whatever, reach out to them and take the risk. This is the only life we have. And I tell people, with the way that I train, because I do corporate training, I do small group trainings, I do life coaching and mentoring. And I say I'm a realist, so I don't sugarcoat. A lot of times when you're listening to stuff on the internet and TV, there's people. Just to be quite honest, that's them trying to make money, and they give it to people in dosages that makes them feel good. I like to be real. I like to tell people, people ask me, and I have athletes, I had a girl that won a national championship at Ohio State. I've had a lot of All-Americans. And when they ask me about being a pro runner, I say, yeah, you're good enough to do it, but I tell them the real, it's going to be tough. And you're going to have to do A, B, and C, So it's the same thing with these things in life. If there's something that you want to do and right now you're not doing it, then, go do your research. Find someone who's doing it. And here's the beauty of LinkedIn and Instagram and all those places. Some of those networks like LinkedIn and Instagram, you can contact people. Literally, you can contact people you will not have access to. And I do that. I literally will find someone. Barack Obama's on LinkedIn, and I know he might not gonna see it and respond, but so what? Yeah. I have access to do it. So what I'm saying is, if you have something you really want to do, now remember, it's going to be hard. That's life. You plant a garden, the weeds just grow. Just know that from the start. But then, do your research, find someone who's doing it, ask them about their, what it took or what it's going to take. And whatever they tell you it took them or what it's going to take them, multiply it times 2, just to give yourself a cushion of knowing how bad or how tough it's going to be. And then make a decision. But once you make a decision, do not give yourself an out. And what I mean by that is, if you give yourself an out, you're going to take it. And I learned that from my running. And what I mean by that, if you say, I'm going to try this and I'm not, and the fifth up, you're giving yourself an out. And certain types of goals, you're just going to run into some types of failures. And if you give yourself an out, you're going to take it. So I learned that through running races. Once you learn or once you start dropping out of races, especially for middle and long distance runners, it becomes easier to do it again and again. The first time is hard because you've never dropped out of a race before. When you do it once, it becomes easier to do it again and again. That's why typically you see individuals who drop out of middle distance and long distance races, they typically do it 3, 4, 5 different times. So what I started doing is I started not giving myself an out. I said, no, that's not an option. I'll get dead last, but I'm not dropping out. And so obviously that forces me to really run because I don't want to get dead last, right? So you know how that goes. So my point is, if you're trying to pivot, if you got a goal, a real goal, not just, everybody, they want to do whatever. I'm saying like something that's real, that you have a skill set or some type of a knowledge base or passion about, go ahead and go after it and just know it's going to be difficult, but that's part of the deal.
You know what? I love that. You hit on something about that as well, where, you talked about LinkedIn, and you can, ask somebody, when Kobe Bryant passed away, you heard so many stories that you didn't know about him. And, he had did a documentary and won an Oscar and all that. But people would say that when Kobe Bryant didn't know how to do something, he would find somebody who was an expert in the field, and he would pester that person day and night. They'd be like, Kobe called me at night and in the morning. He want to know this and that, because he was trying to learn. And I love how you said that, to where find somebody who's doing it in your field and, learn from them, and then expect, and you said, double it up for what you have to do in terms of the work. And I love that, how you put that, because, again, kind of going back, I don't want to keep harping on that, but going back even to your career and in running and things like that, I think people don't even understand the work and the preparation. And you made that very clear when you said, don't just think you're going to get in there and do it halfway. It is so much preparation and work that goes into being anything worthwhile and professional. And, it's funny. I be having so many questions for guests, but then, the conversation gets so good. And you have a post that you put up that I just want you to kind of expound on. You put it on your Instagram, and it said, wasting your life is a sin. And and it says, and you put in the caption there to stop sinning. Can you just expound on that very quickly as well?
Yeah. So here's the thing, and there's two things, and I got to go back, because you're touching on some stuff that's important. Here's the reality. The reality is this: winning is a mindset. Success is a mindset. Period. I don't care what industry, I don't care what field, I don't care what sport, I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's teaching, I don't care if it's painting, I don't care if it's I don't care what it is. Winning and being successful is a mindset. You go talk to Warren Buffett, you go talk to Donald Trump, you go talk to Obama, you go talk to Oprah, you go talk to, I don't care, whoever's the top or close to the top of doing successful, you go talk to them, you're going to find out really quickly they have a certain type of mindset. It's the way it is. That's what I teach. That's pretty much my thing, is developing the champion's mindset, And what I realized something really quick. I'm from the slum. I'm from the hood. And that's not to brag. It's not to impress you, but more than impress upon you where I came from. I'm just a guy, right? And so what I realized is that in high school, there was so many more people that was faster than me, that was smarter than me, that was tougher than me, or whatever that word may be. So I used to ask myself, why me? Like, how did I get here, right? And what I figured out as I went to a couple of Olympic Games, a lot of world championships, I've met Muhammad Ali, I met Michael Jordan, I've been at castles with princes. I've been fortunate to be around some people that far more successful than I am. But what I realized is that it's a mindset. Those guys and girls and ladies, they think differently. And it's not like they was necessarily always born to think differently. It's just a mindset. And it's a skill set to go along with the mindset. And the beauty about a skill set and a mindset is that it can be developed. It just takes repetition. So I tell people that it's a mindset. It's one story, and I studied Kobe Bryant for that reason. It's one story Kobe Bryant talks about, is that he was one of his first games against Michael Jordan. He wanted to know, how did Michael Jordan do this certain shot, right? It's the fadeaway shot Jordan would do. And so when they was playing in the middle of a free throw, when somebody was shooting a free throw, he was sitting behind him. They both was grabbing, how they bend down and grab their shorts when they just sitting there talking. And Kobe asked Jordan, he said, man, how do you, get the position and to get the shot off? He said, Jordan said, you do it with your legs. And Kobe said, your legs, what do you mean? And Jordan said, you get your positioning. And Kobe said, you get the positioning. He said, no, you feel your opponent with your legs. So you're still doing a fadeaway shot, but what you're doing is when you're in that position with the ball nearby you, you can feel them with your legs and you know which way to pivot and shoot. Now, you see, nobody would have known that's the case. And so now what happened is Kobe went and practiced it, not in practice and in meet. You see? See, that's the thing. It's a mindset. One of my favorite quotes that I tell all my athletes and people I mentor doctors and lawyers and just, they're super successful here. I tell them 70 to 90% of success is just following instructions.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are you aware that somebody else would have asked Michael Jordan that question and he would have told them, and they just simply wouldn't have done it?
Right.
I'm telling you, it's crazy, but I've seen it. You could ask anybody who's super successful and who mentor people and say, what do they do? Say, most of them just won't do it, you know? So to me, that's the simple formula, and that's what Kobe would do. That's what a Jordan would do. That's what Tom Brady. I mean, you know, come on. People want to know why Tom Brady is so good and how has he been able to go for so long. Well, Tom Brady has a great diet. He spends money on nutrition and supplements, and he takes care of his body. You know, he'll spend $40, and now LeBron does that. They'll spend the money on their body. They'll make sure they get the massage. They'll make sure they ice bath it. They talk about how Jordan ice bath, you know, every day and got in the ice tub, you see. But see, you'll see people say, well, I don't really have to do it. Okay, you know, whatever. So 79% of success is just following instructions. You got to have the mindset, but you got to have the will to do it too. So to me, that's where it's at. These individuals, no matter what field it is, they have that mindset and they're willing to follow through.
Man,
and then, you know, to answer your second question, sorry I got off on that.
No,
the second question is the sinning part. You know, wasting your life and wasting time is a sin. And the reason that quote is so strong is because it's, you know, there's so many people right now that there are people that never got the opportunity that you or me or whomever had, for whatever reason. You know, maybe they was born with some type of, you know, disability. Maybe they didn't have the family structure, whatever, right? And some of them may have passed away. I have friends that have passed away and they don't have that opportunity. You know, there's a quote in one of my favorite books, the Bible, and it's talking about the parable of the talent. And the parable of the talent, essentially, I'm paraphrasing because I'm an amateur on the Bible, but it talks about having different talents. And essentially, it was three people. One had 10 talents, one had 5, and one had 1. And the one who had 10 talents, you know, went out and hustled and grinded and recognized his talents and developed it and multiplied it and shared it. And he went back and the person said, good job, man. You recognized you had the talents, you developed it, you multiplied it, and you shared it. I'm going to give you more. The person who had 5 did the same thing. Recognized, developed it, multiplied, and shared it. And his boss said, man, good job, man. You had 5 talents. You don't went in here and recognized, developed it, multiplied, and shared it. I'm going to give you more. And the one who had 1 said, now, hold on now. You gave that dude 10, right? And you gave me 1. Now think about it. That dude right there who got 10, you gave him 10. He could have lost 5, and he still got more than me. And he said, and the other dude, you gave him 5. He could have lost 3. He still got more than me. So what I wanted to do, I wanted to make sure I brought you something. Now, we all can relate to this, dude. We all get it. We get it. Like, okay, you're looking and you see somebody taking risks and you're saying, oh, yeah, it's good. They can take risks. They got $100,000. They lose $50,000. They still got more than me. I only got $5,000. I'm not going to take a risk with my $5,000. Or they got this. They can afford to do this. No, that's not what it's about. Because what the guy said was, hold on now. What difference does it make how many talents and stuff that person has and this person has? You got yours. And your job is to recognize the talents you have. Your job is to recognize, develop, multiply, and share that talent. That's your job. Now, you didn't even try to do that. So the point is, we don't know how many you could have actually gotten.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is, here's the kicker. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to take the one talent you have, and I'm going to give it to the ones who had the ones and used it.
Yep.
Now, here's the kicker. And I always emphasize this. It don't matter how many talents or gifts or whatever it is you have, right? All that matters is whatever you get, 1, 5, however strong, however smart, whatever it is, you recognize it, you develop it, you multiply it, and you share it. And if you do, God will give you more. But catch this. If you don't, it's going to get taken away from you. Now, most people think, okay, I'm a good person. If I don't do that, I'll be all right. Nope. You're not getting the message. The message doesn't say if you're a good person or a bad person. A bad person can get 10 talents and recognize it, develop it, multiply it, and share it, and they're going to get more. So you can sit at home, you can watch TV, or you can be on the internet and say that person's a bad person and they're a prick and this and that, and they keep getting. Well, that's what the universe. That's what the God said. It didn't say you had to be a good person for it to work. And then they say if you're a bad person, it wouldn't work. It just said you get these talents. So that's why sometimes we sit back and we see super rich and super successful people. I remember when I was a kid, I used to have some friends. I used to get all the girls. I'm a realist. Don't these girls know? Well, yeah, they knew, but here's the thing. This dude knew that girls liked the way he dressed. They liked the way he walked. They liked the way he talked. So that was his talent. I could have been a nice guy. Some of these nice guys don't recognize the talent. Oh, man, I'm not as tall as that dude. I'm not as athletic as that dude. I don't have the good clothes like he has. I can't talk like he can talk. And we don't recognize it. We don't develop it. Yeah, we can't talk like that. Maybe we don't want to talk like that. We can work on the way we communicate. Yeah, maybe we don't have the best clothes, but we can make sure they're ironed. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we don't have to walk cool, but we can make sure we walk straight with our shoulders up and back and our head up high. And then, but no, we don't even use a little bit we have. So now we go from being somebody that at least can hold a conversation with us to getting none. All we doing, we sitting around, doing, and some of us, not me, but some others even got worse than that. They just use that energy to hate on the one who's getting 10. Thinking that's going to work, man. That dude's going to, they ain't recognize. Yeah, he's getting even more, So my point is, that's how this game works. You have a talent, you have a gift. You recognize it, develop it, multiply it, and share it, and you'll get more. And if you don't, you won't. And then by not doing it, it's a sin because essentially what you're doing is you're hurting yourself.
Yeah. Man, that is you didn't broke it all the way down. We talking with Coach Khadevis Robinson, and man, it's a rich conversation we're having. I mean, I could just listen to you expound more on that because it's so true. Especially with the parable of the talents, to where that's why I started this out saying. I said at the beginning of this podcast, I said somebody out there is wanting to do something and you wait, and I said just do it, just start, just try it, because you could sit on that talent, like he just said, and it says in the Bible, he literally got taken from him and it was given to somebody else. And so that thing that's in you, you don't want somebody else to have it. So, Coach, listen, we're running out of time. This is the Mighty Sharp Network, and we're doing the Shareholders Podcast, Monty here. But I do want to ask you, you kind of hit on so many good things, but, as a coach and as a mentor, usually I ask a lot of people that come on the show who are mentors for you, and I'm sure you've had some, but you definitely are a mentor to many. What is kind of the first thing that the young person comes to you, what is maybe one of the first key principles that you want to give them? I mean, I'm sure that you deal with a lot of talented athletes and all that, but even something maybe if it's bigger than just, the physical act of running or training per se, what is maybe one of the first things that you give young people who come to you for guidance and coaching and mentorship?
Well, there's a couple of things. First, you got to want it. I can help and teach you how to be successful, but I can't help and teach you how to want to be successful. You got to want it, So if you don't want it, well, right? But if you want it, that's a different story. So you got to want it and you got to believe. You got to have a certain belief in either yourself or a higher power or, the program or the coach or something. And if you don't, I can help you with that too, because what I can tell you to do is borrow my belief in you until your belief kicks in. And then the last thing is, if you're coachable, trainable, and teachable, I can make you unstoppable. You got to be coachable, trainable, and teachable. If you're coachable, trainable, and teachable, I can make you unstoppable. But if you're not coachable, trainable, and teachable, it's going to be rough. If you don't want it, then you're not going to work hard enough for it. And if you don't believe, then then now you're taking away a lot of strength. Belief is so important because it gives you the fuel when you don't have any more. See, that's the thing. See, people, I'm gonna tell you how strong the mind is. And this is advanced. And I'm gonna say it. I know everybody's not gonna get it right now, but I'm gonna get it 5 or 10 years from now, because this is what when I work with. I work with some pretty high caliber individuals, and they get this and they use it because this is really high tech. So belief is one of those things when you really understand it, it sets you apart. So for instance, when you go to bed at night and you go to sleep and you start to dream, right? So let's say you're dreaming, and in your dream you're talking to your best friend. So you see your best friend, you're somewhere your best friend walks up, you say, oh my goodness, hey, such and such. And you say, hey, and you say, how you been doing? And they say, I've been doing all right. And you ask your best friend, where did you just come from? And your best friend answers in his voice. It's your dream. You're listening in his voice. I just can't. Now, if he pauses, you don't know what he's going to say. But he says, I just came from, and you're not knowing, you're waiting. In his voice, he said, I just came from the grocery store. Now, check this out. It's all you, my friend. It's all you. That's your mind. It's nobody else. It's your dream. You're you and him in the dream. You're your friend. There's no other person in that dream.
Right.
So how in the world are you hearing it in his voice? And why, when you asked him where he comes from, you didn't know before he answered it, which was you answering it, which meant you should have known because you actually him responding. That's how powerful the mind and belief is. Your mind can trick you into believing in a dream that you're talking to somebody, and you kind of thinking like, okay, my friend in this dream is going to answer, but you're really answering, so you should know what you're going to answer, but you don't. That's how strong belief is. And when you're able to harness that and believe in those terms, these things that's out into this physical world, then you're on a whole nother level. It don't mean you're always going to be successful. It don't mean you're always going to win. No, that's not. It's called life. It just means when you don't win or you face failures or you face problems, you understand where they come from. And that's the level in which I really, 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 really high performers, navigate it. Now, remember, when I say high performers, I'm not talking about success from a monetary standpoint.
Right.
What I'm talking about is there are rich people. And I don't want y'all to see this. There are super successful people that drives, and they'll pass through a bad neighborhood, and they'll see these poor black kids or whomever, and the parents or whatever, and they'll see them happy and jumping around. They live in that messed up house. They don't have a car. I mean, look at them. How they so happy. And that's the level. When you have a belief, a deep-seated belief, it sets you apart. But when you don't, you can be, think about it. Anthony Bourdain had arguably the best job in the world. This guy got to travel the world in the most exotic places and eat the best food and talk about it.
Yep.
He killed himself. Now, I'm a big Anthony Bourdain fan, so I'm not talking about that. What I'm trying to explain is when you have this different or deep belief in life and in your purpose, then now you can navigate through the failures because you're going to have them. You can navigate through the obstacles because you're going to have them. You can navigate through the illnesses. It doesn't mean you're not going to get sick. It doesn't mean you're not going to get hurt. It just means you navigate through them on a different level. But when you don't, no matter how successful you are, you're going to always feel like something's missing. And you know what's missing? You. That's too deep. That's too deep. But like I said, 5 years later, somebody
that's right on point right there. Man, guys, I gotta stop this because this has been outstanding, and we might have to do this again at some point because I ain't even got to half the stuff. But I've truly enjoyed this, man, and I really believe that the right person is going to hear this that needs to hear this. So, Coach, I want to thank you. Can you really quickly just give your plugs? Where can people find you if they want to? I know you got a book. I mean, we didn't get to your book yet. All this stuff.
So everything I have is Khadevis. So at Khadevis on social media, on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and you can contact me. I tell people, when you go to my social media site, that's just me. I don't have a team. This is I'm a coach. I coach your husband. I have a family. So I'm passionate about this because I believe God will be out with this. But this is the real. This is just me doing and sharing what I've learned, in my travels, So when you see that, understand this is the real. This ain't a whole, I'm not posting stuff to get friends and likes and get a lot of numbers. And I'm not even posting it to make money. My job is, coaching at Ohio State. I wrote the book to share information, So I like when people reach out to me because I relate. Here's what I believe. When I was at TCU, we used to volunteer to go to this school right next to our school, and I used to help with this little young black kid that was there, and we used to volunteer and stuff. And I was putting in my volunteer out, quite honestly, right? And anyway, I graduated from TCU. I started running. I do all this stuff. And when I was in college, we didn't have the internet and Facebook and all that. So later, I get a friend request on Facebook. I don't even know who the person is, but I accepted it. The person had hair on their face and the whole nine. It said, "Mr. Robinson, I don't know if you remember me. My name is such and such. I'm that little kid that you used to help at the school next to TCU. Wow. I remember you used to always say this quote, this, and this, and this, and this. I always remember that. I want you to know that I went to the military. I'm going to college, and I can't thank you enough on how much of an influence what you used to say and do and just coming there made on my life." And I was like, I got chills, man. I got chills. And I just thought, man, you know what? You never know how much of a difference you'll be making on people's lives. So to me, when you do that, even after I'm gone, he might tell some people, you know what, man, it was this guy named, he might tell his kid, and he'll tell him the same quote I told him. And now his kids have kids, and they'll say, my dad used to tell me this, and he said his mentor told me this is quote, man, and now I live on even when I'm gone. And that's why I say when you're not living your passion, it's a sin.
Man, that's Coach Robinson for you right there, man. I mean, you can hear the passion in him, and that pretty much makes it all worthwhile to have a young person come back up to you years later. I'm sorry, real quick, Coach, is there any books that you could recommend? I love to ask my guests if there's anything they can recommend to read, aside from your own book as well, of course.
Yeah, it's always this. It's a couple. One of my books is one of the books I like the most, and this is for an adult audience, which I think is relative. Is a book by Robert Greene and 50 Cent called The 50th Law. I know it sounds odd that I would say 50 Cent, but the first law is being an intense realist. That has helped me more than anything because that's to see the world how it truly is, not how you want it. So The 50th Law. And then there's a book that says Be Still and Get Going. It's a book it's deep. And it talks about essentially, it's kind of awful. It has some teachings from the Torah and Judaism, but essentially it talks about leave taking, which is another one of my principles. And leave taking is essentially saying that, we all had to leave our comfort or where we was at and go somewhere we was unfamiliar, that we was afraid, that we was, and go there to become ourselves. And if you look in any scriptures, any biblical book, any book, the person, no matter if it's Buddha, no matter if it's Jesus, no matter if it's Abraham, no matter who it is, they had to leave their home and go somewhere else to become themselves. Because, see, in their home place, everybody knew who they were. They're like, man, I remember you when you used diapers. Now you're going to tell me you're the Savior? So it talks about how, and most people are afraid to do that. But you have to leave. It's called leave taking. You have to leave and go somewhere else where you feel uncomfortable. That's why God told Abraham, you got to go. Abraham said, don't worry about it, go somewhere. Because when you go somewhere else and you're uncomfortable and your back's against the wall and you don't know anybody, you don't know anything, and you feel that, it forces you to dig deep and pull into your God spirit. Because now you're not filtered by how people see you. See, when you back home, you know how mama see you. You might want to become something, but you're like, man, mama see me as this. Or my friends see me as that, or my cousin see me as this, or my teacher see me. You go somewhere else, you can reinvent yourself. And you can become who you're supposed to become. If God's telling you something, you can go somewhere else and say, God's telling me this. If you back where you're from, you say, God's telling me, man, I know what you've been doing all your high school career. You don't try to tell me God telling you something? Huh? But if you go somewhere else, you can't. So it's called Be Still and Get Going. That's a good book. So those two books, and like I said, reach out to me on any of my social media at Khadevis, and I'll respond, and we can go from there.
Man, see, you didn't got me, because one of the main things we talk about, man, is getting out of your comfort zone. Thank you again, Coach, and have a blessed day, sir.
All right, I appreciate it.
This has been a production of the Mighty Sharp Network. Executive producer is Monty Mont. Watch the corners and always stay sharp.